Hey everybody, happy Monday night. Today is August 14th, 2023. This is Across the Pitch. I am one of your hosts, Mike Barrera, and as always, to my side, I have my buddy, my A1 day one, as they say, Dave GFC Miller on Twitter. That's Dave Miller.
Yep.
And then, of course, today we're not joined by Jose, but we do have a special guest returning for her second appearance. We have Alex Windley from the Heron outlet. So, Alex, I'll go to the guest first. How are you doing tonight?
Hi guys, I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk about tomorrow's match and to get into it.
Absolutely. Dave, how you doing today? Gillingham, man, off to a great start this season. So I want to hear how you're doing out in England.
I mean, obviously, 2 wins out of 2 in the league, went to the second round of the League Cup. I mean, before the big game tomorrow night, there was a big game for us. We'll away at Sutton. Hopefully, you'll be tuning in, Mike. If not, listen to the radio coverage.
That's right.
So I'll be pretty much finishing up there and trying to get back in time for kickoff, which is, I'm sure we'll discuss it. But I mean, it's a bit of a ball, like, isn't it? 7 p.m. Weird.
7 p.m.
Weird time, like, especially considering most games have been like 8:30, 8 p.m. US time. So it's a bit of a frustrating thing, but we'll dive into that later in the show.
Exactly. And Valerie, one of our faithful followers, says, welcome back, Alex. I know she watched the first episode with you, Alex. So we're all excited to get you back in the conversation. I know, as we just talked about pre-studio, pre-show, it's been kind of crazy down there. So I would love to just start from the beginning here. Messi arrives in Miami. How has the last month and a half been for you before Leagues Cup even started?
Yeah, it's been insane, intense, breakneck speed. Everything went super quickly from Messi's announcement, which the club was caught off guard with. You know, I know speaking to some people in and around the team, they were not prepared for Messi to make a decision at that time. So as soon as he made that decision, they needed to get everything in place, which they did have a plan, you know, regarding security and expanding the stadium and whatnot. But from a rider's perspective, it's just been nonstop, content, interviews, tactical breakdowns, just every little thing has been magnified times 1,000, and it's been tiring but super rewarding at the same time, and it's been one of the more challenging parts of my writing career so far. But I'm enjoying it. There's with Messi and Busquets and Alba, like what are the chances that this happens again ever, especially with the Saudi Pro League and them snapping up every superstar now? Like, what are the chances MLS will get another a star as big as Messi? Probably never. So I'm just enjoying the ride. But yeah, it's been tiring, but super cool, and hopefully tomorrow will be another chapter of that this ride.
Yeah, I saw on Twitter just like about a half an hour ago, we had a reporter from the Saudi League giving like a player a watch or something along those lines. We had Ronaldo obviously doing big things this past weekend. So they're obviously getting a lot of attention. The money being thrown around there is just astronomical. I can't even imagine that kind of weekly paycheck. It just, I guess, I know as you said, there's a lot going on, a lot to digest. What has been something for you as a reporter, or even as a fan too, that has been like the biggest hurdle or the biggest shock, something you just didn't expect to be the case with that kind of atmosphere?
The amount of people putting in credentials, which sounds super, it sounds, kind of selfish, but yeah, especially that first game against Cruz Azul, a lot of my colleagues had difficulties getting into the game, actually, because all these international and foreign media folks wanted to come in for their first time ever at Drive Pink Stadium and take up the spots that are normally reserved, not reserves, but the local reporters usually take those spots. But during that Leagues Cup game, I think there were over 200 credentialed media members, and they had to dwindle that down to significantly less than that. So that's a difficult part. That's one of the more difficult parts during this entire time, is just the access that you used to have, with at the training ground. I'd be able to, go up to players, say hi to them, build a repertoire. But now, obviously, all of that's blocked off, and there's gates everywhere, and still you get the post game match comments from players here and there. But I think access wise, it's not as as close as the players, and plus the foreign media coming over, which is fine. But it's really unfortunate when you have the day ones who get kind of shut out and not able to do their job. But the club has gotten better with that over the course of the Leagues Cup. So hopefully it it just continues to get better in that regard.
Absolutely. So we got Jose join us. Says sorry to miss you, Alex. Of course, Jose will try to make the third appearance from Alex down the road as well. And then Mike, thanks for joining us, and my buddy Kyle. Kind words. I appreciate Kyle. Thanks for stopping by. So Dave, I know. Listen, I know it's a different market for you, international, of course. I mean, has there anything from your experience? I know you cover a soccer team as well over there. So have you ever had anything like this happen to you, where it's this level of hype and media being rolling in?
I think not on the no, on the level of Messi, but I think we've had games before in the past. We played Leicester in the FA Cup live on television earlier this year, at the beginning of this year. So again, you have all like the big British, media companies there, the major companies in the press box, which you wouldn't typically get. In fact, we had it last Tuesday when we played Southampton. We had a lot of the national media there because it was one of the bigger games in the first round of the League Cup, Carabao Cup. But I think the difference, as sort of Alex said there, I think is a shame to sort of see. I think the same happened to New York Red Bulls.
Mhm.
The sort of the media that have been there since the start, or that have been there covering the team when they haven't been as good or haven't been as successful, sort of be shunted out the way to make way for the big guns, for the big guys that won't be there in you know the last couple of games of the regular season. If Miami are out of playoff contention, they won't care to be there for the smaller games. Whereas people like Alex who have been there week in and week out covering the team. I'm not sure how long you've been covering the team for, Alex, but I mean, you've been there for a long time. You'll still be there covering the team, which I think is a shame. Which I think over in England, especially with Gillingham, we do sort of treat the local press, as priority. Even with the big games, we make sure they get their specific seats. They all sit in for every game. They're always there. We could be playing Manchester United, and we have people who contribute to our matchday program. They'll always get their specific seats in the press box. Our local media will all get their seats, the usual seats. So, yeah, I think that perhaps is the difference between our level and perhaps having Lionel Messi, getting every big international media organization. But I think there is perhaps a culture difference there between the two.
Well, that's the thing too. So I mean, I look at it like NFL and MLS, and Alex, you cover MLS with myself and Dave, so you can understand the difference. NFL, you think ESPN's always going to be there, no matter what, right?
Hmm.
NBC, they'll always be there. But for MLS, the three of us push the coverage to all the fans all the time, every single day, no matter what. Off season, ESPN doesn't care. I had CBS, obviously CBS nationwide brand. They got the stadium wrong, the name wrong. They said PPL Park. I said it's not PPL Park anymore. It used to be years ago. But today's point, yeah, they're going to come here for one game. They're going to enjoy the atmosphere. They're going to leave, and then the local content creators, these ones who've been here from the beginning, are going to be like, well, we're here still. we earned the right to be there, but of course, not everybody can make it the cut. And that was what we were worried about today, Alex. We did not know what to expect at all. All of us applied for the League's Cup credentials. We were very fortunate that Jose and I both got credentialed to get in there, which we didn't think was going to be the case. I thought maybe one of us would make it, if maybe none of us would make it. But thankfully, a lot of the local content creators, like the Free Kick, I know Skylar Hoffman from Union Nation, all these ones who've been there a long time got the credentials. And I feel like that's who should be there. Yes, I know Tom Bogart making the box is obviously very important, but at the same time, so are we, and in our own me
Yeah.
selfishly saying that. So, do you think hopefully that things will turn better for the Miami media down there?
Yeah, I hope so. I know you mentioned Tom Bogart and the Athletic. They've had a reporter there literally every single Miami home game, which is
Right.
cool. The club getting coverage, but at the same time, you want your local reporters and your local interns and your local content creators to be there because they know the heartbeat of the city, and they've been there since day one. Like for me, you mentioned that Dave, that you mentioned that I when I've been covering the team, it's been since the beginning, like that. Literally at 2019, I remember
Wow.
being there at the expansion draft when the team had literally no players, and now to see that Messi's here, it's been really cool to see. But at the same time, you don't want to lose your access, and yeah, like I said earlier, the club has gotten better at that, but still, it was a bummer that first Leagues Cup game, like you mentioned, Mike, that yeah, a couple of my colleagues, they didn't get in, because of the amount of media that applied for it, and even I didn't get in. But luckily, I've been covering the team since the beginning, so the comms team was fortunate to to let me in there. I don't know how I got in there, but they saved me a seat. So yeah, I hope it wasn't too tough for you guys because the local coverage is really what keeps MLS going and what's really needed in the American soccer landscape.
Well, yeah, especially now more than ever. If anything, all eyes are finally focused. Like, for example, today I had a conversation with my coworkers. None of them watch soccer, but they're all like, "So what time's the game on? What's this?" They're all interested
Wow.
now in that thing. Like, can we tune in? How much are tickets? So I would have never had that conversation with them 2 years ago. They didn't care. They're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, the Union, whatever. I'm going to watch the Eagles game or something." So again, it's showing that the game is growing, but of course now, as our job as reporters now to help expand it and keep growing. But and now Miami has been playing well recently. They've been in now, I think, 3 or 4 Leagues Cups games, if I remember correctly, maybe 5 or 6. I've lost track at this point. So
Yeah, me
I would,
too.
I don't even know what day it is right now. It's been crazy. So I would love to hear from your perspective. What has Miami done well? What have they done better with the additions that they've made, or what are certain things that they're maybe still working on that maybe Union can exploit tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I'll start with the exploitation there. I was talking to a couple of my colleagues. The Union, correct me if I'm wrong, the Union, for me anyway, they're a super energetic side that likes to go super direct and use the wide channels and just their speed and physicality over the top to just kind of, bully opponents into the final third and then score at will. So I am afraid for Miami tomorrow that, that midfield of Busquets and Benjamin Kromashki and Dixon Arroyo, plus the two center backs that aren't very quick in Kamal Miller and Sergei Kristoff, with Alba pushing up and Yedlin pushing up, I do foresee the Union just taking advantage of that and yeah, just countering Miami, really. I know Tata Martino, they want to play a possession-based high-line style, and I definitely see the Union taking advantage of that and using their pace and younger roster to kind of overrun that Miami backline in midfield. But for what Miami does well, obviously Messi, he's the heartbeat of the team now. Everything sort of kind of runs through him and Robert Taylor too, which has been a cool surprise. Everyone's now on the Robert Taylor train. He's always been a super good player for Miami, but now I'm glad to see him getting his roses. But yeah, through offensively, I think Miami will obviously run through Messi, Robert Taylor. They'll do Messi will free roam. I know Joseph Martinez will probably start at top and try to combine. And Miami are going to try to keep possession as much as they can, keep a high line, kind of make that field compact and try to pull the Union out of shape. And then, obviously wait until Messi to do his magic or find a wide open teammate in Robert Taylor or Joseph or heck, even like a Ben Hakremeski. So I think it's going to be a super interesting clash of styles, really completely opposite. Honestly, Miami, they do counter a little bit, but I think Tata Martino really wants to, play that high line and play possession football. So I'm really intrigued. And I'm excited to watch the match as a kind of as a neutral, obviously, but I think we're going to get really good soccer tomorrow. And I'm really, it's going to be the toughest team besides Dallas that Miami will face so far. And I'm probably going to get cooked, but I think I do foresee Miami maybe losing this game. Honestly, I think that back line and the midfield will just get stretched, and yeah, I don't know. Let's see, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, it's a lot. I know Valerie says Robert Taylor's been amazing to watch, and I think
Yeah.
one of the biggest stories we've seen out of this whole Miami, I guess change of their direction has been Robert Taylor. So you've seen him obviously longer than most of us have. What is it? What is the key difference you see from him? Is it just simply playing with the different caliber players, or is it just a different approach to his game now?
I do think that, under Phil Neville, I think, yeah, Robert Taylor, yeah, like Phil Neville's a super nice guy. I've talked to him countless times, but tactically, he just wasn't up for it. But he's a super nice guy and all that. But under Phil Neville, Robert Taylor wasn't getting a lot of playing time, and if he was being played out of position, really, like as a kind of as a right back, right wing back, sort of in midfield, and he didn't really nail down a starting position. But now under Martino, he's got that left wing spot locked down, and you're seeing him flourish a little bit more. Some of his best Inter Miami goals have come when he's played on the wing, and now Martino has figured that out pretty easily, and now Robert Taylor is showing the quality that Chris Henderson and the coaching staff wanted him to show when they picked him up initially in early 2022. So yeah. I think it's that plus the combination of playing with Messi and Busquets, and obviously playing with those players. It sucks in defenders to the two of them, so they obviously have to be man marked, and that leaves other players like a Robert Taylor or a Leo Campana or Joseph Martinez wide open, and therefore they have the tendency to score when they're not being marked. So yeah, it's been beneficial for Taylor to kind of have that space and can flourish like the player that I know that he's really good as.
Well, I mean, Dave, I'll shoot to you too because I'm just focusing on Robert Taylor because I do think he's really important for tomorrow's match. A lot of people right now are kind of on the fence. Nathan Harriel or Olivier Mbizo on that right side because they'll be the one mostly responsible for helping out with Gless and Snelly with Taylor's movement. Who do you trust right now more than the other person between Harriel and Olivier? Because I can argue both. I really can.
I think that's the issue. I think the fact that they've both been so inconsistent defensively this year. I think there was that
Yeah.
run of like 2 or 3 games where I think Nate Harriel either scored an own goal or had a massive goal, like a mistake that led to a goal. But I think it depends on the formation we play. So I know obviously with that Carranza, it may force the Union to perhaps change their shape, even like perhaps go to a back four to try and perhaps pack the midfield up a bit more, and whether it's a diamond, maybe a 4-2-3-1 if Jim wants to reward Joaquin Torres for his very, very good performance when he came off the bench.
Yeah.
He changed the game on Friday night.
Fair enough.
But I don't know. I think defensively, if you're going to go for a 4, I would go Nate Harriel because I think he's probably a bit more defensively solid. But I think if you're going to start with the back 5, probably in Mbizo because you do need that, especially with how important the width is for the Union. Mbizo is probably a bit more direct, better going forward than Harriel. So I think sorry to give a non-answer, but I think it's very much shape dependent. If it's a back 4, I'd say Harriel. So back 5, I'd say Mbizo.
No, I agree. I'll give you a follow up to that as well. So Valerie asked real quick, and just to give our listeners who haven't checked it some updates. So Gazdag is going to be fully ready to go. Bedoya will come off the bench at some point if he does come off the bench. But Carranza has a grade 1 hamstring. It says that he's most likely not going to play. Maybe it depends on really how he feels probably the day of. Jim has alluded to him wanting to participate. Now, whether he wants to participate and whether he does or not are two obviously different things. So we'll see how the hamstring holds up. I mean, if we can get Julian late for 15 minutes, if we really need a goal, I'll take that every single day of the week. But Dave, to your point about the formation, we obviously have been preaching for the 3 in the back for now months at this point. We finally have gotten it on a regular basis with Lowe, Elliott, and Glesnes. Now, for those of you who follow Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad on Twitter, he mentioned exactly what you said, Dave, kind of making the midfield a bit more crowded, going to 4 in the back, and having Nathan or Olivier. Now, his formation that he had Olivier on the right-hand side, not Nathan. I do kind of agree with that because, to your point, Dave, we have seen Nathan fall asleep at times defensively. I can think of maybe 2 or 3 off the top of my head right now that he just fell asleep. And I worry that a young player like that might get a little starstruck out there playing against the likes of Messi and company. So I think maybe Olivier, he does have some World Cup roster experience. He just had that PK 2 matches ago. Hopefully some confidence building for him. I do think Olivier plays tomorrow. And I do think it's 4 in the back as well. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I'd be interested to see if perhaps, I know obviously we were annoyed. I think it was the Red Bulls game where Jim did throw that big curveball and it was like, we'll start Gazdag up front. We put Leon Flack and then flat 3. And
yeah,
I'd be interested to see if he tries to throw the other curveball. Maybe he tries to match into Miami. I know they like to play the 4-3-3 or like the 4-2-3-1 system. So I'd be interested to see if Jim perhaps tries to match them up man for man and goes with like a 4-2-3-1 to try and counteract that, which again perhaps allows you to have more width, which then, especially with having Messi and you've got Alba as well, I know Alba's a very attacking fullback, and Messi is Messi. Perhaps having more width out there to perhaps counteract the threat that Miami have, not just like coming inside with Messi cutting in, but on the wings as well. As you mentioned, Robert Taylor is going to cause a threat out wide. Perhaps you just go with the 4-2-3-1, and perhaps if it is 2 wide men of perhaps like Torres, and I think I saw someone suggest Jesus Bueno, or even just Quinn Sullivan's, just those 2 out wide, guys back in the middle who are up front, maybe. Just just throwing, even if it throws them off, even if it's just to perhaps give you more cover out wide. And to put less pressure on the fullbacks to not only get up the pitch, but to defend, the threat of what they have out wide. If Messi wants to stay out wide on the right to be able to cut in on his left foot, you've got not just the pressure on Wagner having to follow him. You've got the wing. You've got your wing on the left as well that could try and counteract that.
Well, that's the thing too, is we've seen from Curtin is that sometimes when he gets too creative and gets a little too cute, it always backfires. We saw that against Atlanta, right? When he had Nathan and Leon Flock on the left hand side, and it was just an abysmal match from begin to end. So, I mean, Alex, just to kind of curious about the past couple games from Miami, we obviously saw them really come close against Dallas. You know, Orlando had them, I think it was a 2-1 match overall. I mean, who do you think gave them the biggest fits from begin to end in terms of just maybe who figured them out a little bit?
Oh, definitely Dallas. Yeah, that Dallas match was a big learning tool for the team. I hope that they took a lesson from that. Yeah, Dallas basically did what I described. Yeah, I hope so because I feel that Tata can be a little stubborn sometimes in his tactics. I haven't seen it personally, but talking to Atlanta United riders and fans, they were there during their success. When Tata won MLS Cup, they were talking about how Tata can be a little stubborn with tactics. So yeah, Dallas definitely gave them the most stick. Really, they figured them out really quickly. That front line that they had was super pacey and athletic and young and super technical, and they were very direct. And Miami's backline couldn't cope, and at one point they were down like 4-2, 4-1, and it's still crazy how they won that game on penalties. It's
That was
just
a
yeah, the
crazy
Messi
ending.
effect. It was just a crazy game. But like, yeah, I do think Philly, like you guys said, if they match up with Miami and they use that with the wings to kind of counter that, Alba pushes up. Robert Taylor usually stays out wide, but Messi tucks in. Yedlin pushes up, and then that usually leaves Busquets and the two center backs kind of really exposed. And if the Union play their cards right, they can counter all night long. And that's
Yeah.
the one thing I've been pointing out to supporters and colleagues. So yeah, Dallas definitely showed the blueprint in how to beat Miami. If it was a regular season game, I don't think Miami would push as hard to come back like they did if it was they were in a tournament. So they want to win the trophy. So obviously they're going to push a little bit harder. But
Sure.
yeah, I think Dallas definitely gave the Union a blueprint, and Jim Curtin's a super smart coach, and I think he'll be watching that game, or has watched that game over and over just to see where they can expose that, and I fully expect the Union to take advantage of that, and you'll probably see me not angrily, but just frustratingly tweet tomorrow how I knew this is like obviously going to happen because the Union are so good, but. Yeah, I think Dallas was definitely that game that gave people the blueprint.
I feel like just as Union fans, we're all the opposite. We're all just terrified. We're gonna get blown up by Messi. It's gonna be,
Really?
yeah. I know. Well, at least for me, I feel like I'm always
Yeah.
so paranoid about what's the worst thing that could happen to Union. That's probably going to happen. That's just kind of how our history has been, and we've always had these really unfortunate moments. Or of course, Messi comes in and beats us. We had a home. We basically have home field advantage the entire League's Cup, and the only reason why we lose is because of freaking Messi walking in here, of all people, right? So it's one of those things where I think we're all holding our breath, especially because even from a free kick standpoint, Messi is just incredible. The things that he's been
Yeah,
able to
that's
do off
that's
set
a
pieces.
penalty for him.
Oh my god, the set pieces I've seen, it's remarkable. But I mean, in terms of goalkeeping, so I we talked about this earlier in the season with goalkeeping. I believe you joined us for the second game of the season for us, but I believe Calendar already had a couple of matches under his belt. So I would love to know how you thought his development has been over the past season. Any sort of things he's maybe still doing incorrectly from earlier on, or what has he gotten better at?
Yeah, he's gotten a lot better. He's signed a long-term contract. He's one of, honestly, I don't want to sound biased, but he is one of the best keepers in MLS alongside guys like Andre Blake and Petrovic from New England as well. Like Drake Callender is up there, and he even got a national team call up, I believe. Not I believe, I know. From what was it? I think it was what was that? That one tournament during the summer where they played Mexico that escaping me right now.
Oh, the Gold
He
Cup.
got a call. Yes, not the Gold Cup, the one before that,
Oh,
Nations
God,
League.
Nations League.
There
Yeah,
we
it's
go.
losing
That
track at this point.
yeah. Oh my gosh, Nations League. Yes, he got a call up to the Nations League for the U.S. and that's huge for him. And
Yeah.
and he's been such an integral part to even when Miami pre-Messi, like he saved so many games for Miami, even though they were horribly losing so bad and whatnot. But Drake saved a lot of just games for Miami during that time. And to see him now get that kind of recognition now, and now he's playing alongside Messi and playing behind a great defender like Jordi Alba. I'm just super pleased to see how he's grown and yeah, he's also a super nice guy. I've met him a couple of times and yeah, Drake's just been super great for Miami, and I don't know if you guys noticed that during the transfer period for Miami, I don't know if not a lot of goalkeepers were linked to the team because Drake was so good. There was no reason to really replace him in that regard. So, yeah, Calendar, he's just been super great, and yeah, hopefully tomorrow he's definitely going to have his hands full with that Union attack.
Well, it's always hard to be compared to Andre Blake on the same soccer field, you know. But
Mm.
at the same time, Dave, if you recall from the first time we played against Miami, Andre Blake did not have the best outing because of two just outside the box goals. So any concerns for Andre from set pieces from outside the box? Or anything we should be worried about because he's been beat a couple times now from distance.
Yeah, I think probably less Andre Blake, more the team. So I remember
Yeah.
before the Atlanta United game, Jim Curtin in his press conference said the biggest thing I've reiterated the team, and I will continue to reiterate before this game, is do not give away any free kicks out on the edge of the penalty area to Thiago Almada. What's the first thing you do in the first 3 minutes? Give away a ridiculously stupid free kick, albeit the ball blocked the first attempt. Ball came straight back out to Almada, and he just stumps a half volley into the back of the net. It's like just. I mean, again, Jim Curtin was at half at fault. He played the right back at left centre back and played a centre mid at left wing back.
Yep.
The defensive shape didn't work, and it should never have been. He should never gone out to that game with the lineup he actually put out.
No.
But yeah, they have to be careful. They can't go diving in. I think we'll probably get onto this a bit later, but I'm interested to see how players like Jose Martinez and Bueno and the two centre backs do sort of how aggressive they are around the penalty area. I think, again, we'll get onto it in a little bit, but I'm interested to see not only how aggressive they are, but how it's viewed upon by the referee, if it's on a certain player. I think we could probably guess who that certain player is, but I'm interested to see how that'll go. Especially with Jose Martinez.
Absolutely. Now, Valerie asked a question for you, Alex. Any issues on the Messi injury or quote unquote injury that we saw earlier today with the left foot? Anything comes from that or no?
Yeah, no. Tata Martino was speaking with the media after that training, and he basically said it was a nothing thing. I know he was walking around and kind of tweaked it a little, but Messi, he's old enough and has played long enough to know how his body feels, and if he couldn't go, I think it would have been bigger news. But yeah, he's fine, and he'll be ready for tomorrow.
Awesome. So now I know, Dave, you alluded to the officiating. So, and some of the issues that people were worried about as well, the MLS is going to cater to the Messi and all those star players and the officiating. How do you feel the officiating has been so far? Has there been anything that's glaring in your mind?
Oh, sorry, me.
Or either of you, yeah.
I was going to say, I mean, I think,
Sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
I think we've seen, especially some of the Miami goals, like people have just let Messi sort of wander past, like waltz past them. Essentially, they haven't been people that's like either too afraid to stick a leg in or getting try and tackle him if they trip him up outside the box. Do you know what I mean? I think the other instance I saw was, I think Messi was on a yellow card, and I think it was the Orlando game. He was on the yellow card, and he sort of off the ball really lent his shoulder in and got away with it, and then Miami then got a foul like about 5 seconds later, and obviously on the yellow card that was a very dangerous thing. So I don't know if there's been preferential treatment there. If there's again, I'm not going to try and say there's any conspiracy theories that Messi's being the league's, fixing things a mess or anything. But again, perhaps people are a bit cautious with either going into rough on Messi or sending him off in like his second game or whatever, or third game. How that would look in the product. Perhaps people are worried about that, but I think it's just. Again, he's a superstar, but you need to treat him like a normal player. And I know a couple of players on the Union that will definitely do that. And I'm intrigued to see how not only the perception will be of it, of how the officiating will be as well. And I have no doubts that Jose Martinez will leave in a couple of very, very tough, reckless challenges on not only Messi, but Busquets. I think Bueno might do as well. I'm looking forward to see how aggressive Bueno can be in this game.
Absolutely. So, Alex, same question. Any thoughts on the officiating or how players have maybe treated Messi so far?
Yeah, honestly, from the Orlando game, like you guys mentioned, that got heated. Honestly, the two double pivots of Wilder Cartagena and Cesar Araujo. Yeah, they got under Messi's skin, and it was not funny to watch, but it was Messi took the rivalry very seriously, and
Yeah.
it was interesting to see. So I think that's kind of the key if you want to get under Inter Miami's skin, under Messi's skin. You not foul him too harsh, but you do need to play him a little bit tighter and try to play a little bit closer to him, and that's kind of the key, against Dallas and Charlotte and all these Leagues Cup games. They never really marked him well, and obviously now you see, you got to stay closely to Messi, and then you know. Like he won't. I mean, he will score, but like try to closely mark him. I know people have been trying to figure that out for his entire career. But yeah, it's how do you stop Messi? Like I don't know, I don't know, but like yeah, I think the Orlando blueprint was probably the best. Just kind of goad him into a yellow card and try to get him a little bit upset. So yeah, I'm sure like you said the union like Gonzalo Higuain. I remember. Oh my gosh. I remember that Gonzalo's first game for Inter Miami. I think it was or second or third. It was against the Union away, I believe, and yeah, they just got under his skin, and I remember that so vividly because it was Miami were bad that year, and Higuain just freaking out at Martinez was just it was just like it was just really crazy and funny to watch in hindsight. But yeah, that's how you kind of get under Messi's skin is just to goad him a little bit and force him into yellow. But Messi's Messi. He's probably going to score, but I guess that's one way of potentially stopping him.
Well, that's the thing. He's like, you think of somebody like Jordan, LeBron, they're going to get their 20 points, 25 points a game. It doesn't matter of limiting the damage to whatever you possibly can. And Jillian from the one team we agree on, I know is on vacation with Kyle. They're saying hello from Canada. And yes, I'm wearing my Union concert shirt today. So Jillian, thank you for your recommendation from your show because I love it. I love it so much. And then Valerie says, I loved how Martinez treated Higuain. And it's funny you mentioned that, Alex, because I still have the screenshot. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera very well because of my lighting, but I still have the screenshot of Jose Martinez's face when he went at it again. It probably won't come out as clear on camera as I would hope, but it's I have it saved on my phone because it was one of the most iconic Union moments where Jose Martinez was still kind of coming into his own. I mean, he kind of had the breakout game against LAFC when he had like the bloody lip. So Martinez is certainly known for that type of the chippiness.
I was going to say,
yeah, go ahead, Dave.
So I was speaking of Martinez, trying to get under Messi's skin. I'm really intrigued to see one. Obviously, I presume Alex, would you be watching on the Apple TV MLS season pass?
Yeah,
I'm really intrigued to see one. Who the commentary team is because I know obviously the big worry from the Union perspective was losing Danny Higginbottom because of the great work he did over the last couple of years covering the team. Obviously, we've got him back. I'm intrigued to see if they'll perhaps go with a different commentary team that they've presume has been following Messi throughout the tournament. Because it's certainly been interesting listening to some of the commentary teams and the way they have reacted to some of the goals. And I'm interested to see how if it is a different commentary team. So I know if Jose Martinez was to put in a very reckless heavy challenge on Messi, or even Busquets, I know Danny Higginbottom will probably start laughing or find it quite funny and like covering the team every week. But I'm interested to see how like an outsider's commentary perspective, how an outside commentary would look at it from their perspective, would they be a bit more aggressive with that? And the same for the referees as well, because we haven't really seen anyone sort of, in England, I don't know about you guys, as a saying, let them know you're there early. So going hard in the first challenge, making sure letting the opposition know you're up for it. I'm interested to see how the referee will treat if someone goes in rough and hard on Messi or Busquets and let them know they're early, put them on the floor, I mean, I think obviously Martinez and Bueno are probably your two big candidates for that. And even Leon Flack if he starts the game, which is a possibility. I know it won't be the popular choice. Do you know what I mean? I want to see the Union be physical. I want to see the Union getting their faces, especially, and then I want to see how the officials will react to it because I know so far, I don't know, I haven't been able to actually catch a Miami game, obviously, because it's clashed with Union games or, it's like I've been at work or whatever, but I haven't seen many players really go in tough for Messi. I haven't really, when he's been in his flow and his stride, sort of people have been happy to let him skip by them. You know what I mean? I can't see the Union doing that. Again, it's on Kai Wagner's down that left side. Kai's not going to be afraid to, if he feels unjustly punished or something, he's not afraid to speak his mind or to give a shovel to or lash out afterwards. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the officials react to it because I know, of course, they will feel like they have a responsibility to protect the products of the league as well, which Messi is obviously now the face of and the main business, the focal point of the business side of the MLS.
Of course, of course. And I think we're joined by Jose. Is that right? I think Jose just stopped into the studio. Hold on one second. Oh wait, no, it's just never mind. It's two. Oh, I have two windows popping up. Okay, there you go. Sorry about that. No, so Alex, just curious in terms of the officiant or any player in particular. Has any player in particular kind of bothered him the most, or any sort of calls in particular you can think of that might have been on the edge there of being a little ticky tack from the officials? Alex, I think we lost Alex. Hold on, we got technical difficulties. Hey, Alex,
Oh,
can you,
there we
can you
go.
hear me? We're good.
Yes, I
Okay,
can. All
there you
good.
go. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard the last question after Dave had just spoke, but essentially, what how any particular key moment from the officials so far that you thought stood out, or you thought maybe they were kind of protecting him a little bit?
Honestly, I don't want to like a mob to come after me, but like I think that one shove I think against Orlando, I feel that was borderline on another yellow, but
Yeah,
I think for the sake of competitiveness, like they kept Messi in the game. Obviously, you're not, you don't want to be known as the official that sent Messi off
sure.
in a Leagues Cup game. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say that refs are like soft on Messi, but like at the same time, you want to be fair. But Messi isn't really a player that gets a lot of like yellow cards for like nefarious stuff anyway. So
Yeah,
I think that one Orlando thing you could make the argument, but I think it was just for the sake of competitiveness. If it was a tougher referee, maybe they would have sent him off. But still, I think the game tomorrow against the Union, I think it'll be I think it'll be a little bit chippy. But honestly, it's going to be a good football game regardless, and I'm just excited to cover it and see everyone's reactions, honestly. But I hope they don't coddle Messi too much because I kind of want to see that passion from him.
well, that's the thing is we talked about this earlier in the season. It has been like a bit of a rivalry building between Miami and Philly. We had talked about how the last few games have been pretty chippy. I know you guys stole a game from us at home in Chester about I think was it 2 years ago. I know the Higuain brothers had a say in that as well. So you think about we just haven't played you guys since the beginning of the season. So much has changed. But I do think some fans forget that Miami and Philly have really gone at it recently. Like it has been
Mhm.
some pretty hostile games. So, and I know myself included, there have been some fans who don't like Miami the most now out of all these other teams, besides maybe the Red Bull, because of these recent matches that have been kind of going to play. But Dave, you might be able to remind me here. There was one game I think last season where Alejandro Bedoya had a really hard foul to start the game, and he got a yellow card almost right away. Do you remember what game that was? Because that's what I'm afraid of. I don't know if you can think of it. Remember, that's what I'm afraid of. Is essentially Brujo goes in there, tries to send a message, and he gets a yellow card within the first 5 or 6 minutes. Which, of course, nobody wants to see that. They don't want to see a game that's filled with yellow cards. We saw the game. I think it was against DC or the Red Bulls. Alex, it was just constant stops, constant fouls, constant.
Mhm.
It just isn't a good product to watch. So that's one of our concerns as Union fans in particular is that as great as our defensive players are, like Glesnes, Wagner, even Olivier at times, they do have a sense to like kind of let their emotions get the best of them a bit. And we saw, Bueno out in Colorado threw somebody to the ground after they went after Jacob Glesnes. So there's certain,
Even
yeah.
so
Go
after
ahead.
the Querétaro game as well, there's a lot of we got very, very heated after that. I think Damien Lowe was wanting to murder some players on the pitch. He was having to be physically dragged back to the locker room by Joe Blake.
Yeah. No, it has been very physical. I think Nathan Harriel got shoved to the ground, so everybody kind of just went bananas about what happened out there. It was a couple scuffles already that we've seen so far. But in terms of like the Leagues Cup, Alex, obviously this has been a product that we've never seen before. There have been a lot of pros and cons to it. So I want to hear your perspective just from the Leagues Cup in general. What have you thought about the tournament as a whole, and what do you think are some things that we can improve moving forward? Because there are a lot of kind of one-sidedness with where this games are being played every single week.
Yeah, I would like to see more games in Mexico to make the tournament a little bit more even and I guess with more parity. I suppose
Yeah,
I do think that having all the games in America, it feels like the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is a great tournament, but every year it's in America. So one of these, I would like to see games in Mexico or even other Caribbean countries. But with the Leagues Cup, I would like to see home and away from with MLS and Mexican teams. Imagine Inter Miami playing at Azteca, with Messi and all those
Yeah.
people coming in and packing the stadium. Imagine how like crazy that would be. I would love to see that. And yeah, I do. I will say I don't like how they paused the MLS play for a month to do this. I understand it's a tournament, but still, I think I miss having MLS games and seeing just MLS soccer to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know where else how where else on the calendar they would play a tournament like this, but maybe they could have incrementally put it between like I don't know, just reschedule it so it's not just a month off of MLS games because I know there are a couple of teams that got eliminated super early, like the Galaxy, who are now they've been sitting around for a month not doing anything. So like
Yeah.
what are they playing closed door games I think, and yeah, I just don't think that's good for any MLS team. So yeah, that's what I like to see change. Mainly some games in Mexico and maybe reschedule it so it's not this giant chunk of nothing for teams that do get eliminated.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of travel. So they had talked about how Querétaro had been on the road before they got to Chester for about 18 days in a row. Think
Wow.
about that for a team from Mexico to be in another country for about 3 weeks and change. I mean, that's a long time, and it
Mm.
really isn't fair to them in terms of because even think about it this way: if you go to play up in New England, which they end up pulling out the window, so I guess it's a bad example, but for a team from Mexico to play up there in New England on a turf field, in a weird stadium, all that traveled. I think they had been where were they before, Dave? Chicago or something like that? Querétaro? They had been somewhere
Maybe, yeah.
along the Midwest, so it's like going from Chester to there to up north, and then it's just it's a lot on their bodies. It's a lot on them as a whole, and and they just started their season not too long ago either. So they have now a whole campaign in front of them to recover from this and kind of move forward. But in terms of I guess the MLS season ahead, now that Leagues Cup is almost over, Miami is obviously not that high in the standings. So what are some concerns you have coming out of Leagues Cup after playing so much soccer in a row, and then and maybe what are some things you're looking forward to with Miami's end of the season here?
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to Miami climbing the table. I know the rest of their schedule isn't as difficult as it was in the beginning of the season, so they will definitely be picking up points
Yep.
and pushing to get that last or eighth spot in the playoffs. I am a little bit worried because obviously Argentina will have was it World Cup qualifying or
That's right.
some qualifiers where Messi will be gone for at least 2 games, maybe even one. And yeah, Miami are going to have to play without him and. Yeah, and they're gonna have to figure that out. But obviously they've brought in guys like Facundo Farias, Diego Gomez, and Thomas Avilas from very good South American sides, and maybe they will fill the void. Obviously, you have Robert Taylor, you have guys on the bench who will step up and will need to step up when Messi is gone. So I'm looking forward to seeing some sort of that rotation. But yeah, I'm just ready for MLS to get started again and the league, and I just like watching MLS soccer and yeah, I'm intrigued to see if Miami can claim out of that Eastern Conference basement into the playoffs. So I don't know if they can do it with Messi there. Literally everything is possible. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how Tata adjust and rotates his squad and how he brings in the younger players to kind of fit in with the Busquets, Alba, and Messi trio they've got going on.
Well, that's what Dave and I and Jose have always talked about with Gazlog. It's like, okay, well, you have this plan A, right? And Dave has kind of alluded to never being a plan B. What's the plan B behind Daniel and Julian and Ua? So, in your opinion, what is the plan B behind Messi? So let's say, for example, he's not 100% tomorrow, just by chance with his ankle, or if, as you say, he's gone for World Cup qualifier. What is the next step? Because with 9 spots available for the playoffs, there is a chance that they can make the playoffs. Which, of course, at that point, it's anybody's game. Then, what's the option behind those great players?
Honestly, prayer. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's a fair
No,
answer.
but yeah. But in seriousness, I think guys like Facundo Farias, like I mentioned earlier, he's a 20-year-old winger from Argentina who can
Yep.
play on the wing, through the middle, even as a number 9. So he will get some games. Obviously, Robert Taylor, you have. Even Ben Hakramaski, who's a young homegrown who has played on the wings at times. He's more of a central midfielder, but he can play on the wings. And yeah, Miami have a lot of depth in that regard. And I think that, obviously there's injuries to guys like Corentin Jean and John Mata and Gregory, and they will be back. But you have guys like Nicolas Stefanelli who can play on the wings. I mentioned, like I said, Robert Taylor, Facundo Farias, Kramaski, and Miami will definitely have options. We even saw Diego Gomez have some time out at left wing as well in Miami's previous game against Charlotte. So I think Tata will stick with a Messi type of player per se. I think he'll just still play that same system, but maybe put in like a central midfielder who has a good engine and who can just get up and down the field and play that while Messi is off with Argentina.
Awesome. Dave, how about you? I mean, in terms of the union, we obviously are in a different position, but we still have a lot to play for moving forward with MLS play being now a week and a half away, 2 weeks away. What are your concerns coming out of Leagues Cup? Because although we haven't had to deal with the travel that even Miami's had to deal with, it's certainly been a long stretch of non-league play. So what are you concerned about as we kind of enter this final week?
I think obviously for me the main concern now is obviously tomorrow night, but looking
Yep.
beyond that, I think the biggest thing is just trying to make sure you get that top three sort of place guarantee a home playoff game
Yeah.
this one. Trying to close the gap on Cincinnati. I said on Todd Lewis's show last night on his podcast, it's so frustrating that the Union are 11 points off Cincinnati. The gap should be so much closer. And I think now it is between the end of the season is for me, it's shoring up those mistakes, shoring up those lapses of confidence because this team has thrown away games, has thrown away points when they should be winning. I think again for me now, it's just cutting out those mistakes and taking advantage of taking advantage of the gaps and taking advantage of the little openings that the two teams above them actually offer them, as opposed to somewhat in a way weirdly like following suit with them. If Cincinnati lose, the Union will fail to win. If Cincinnati will win, typically the Union will win. Same with Nashville, although they have closed the gaps considerably with Nashville the last few weeks. But I think one question here for Alex is especially, I think obviously looking ahead to the rest of the season, as you mentioned, Messi will be away for a few games at least. Is there immense pressure to make the playoffs this year, or was it somewhat an all or nothing on next year? Next like MLS year is leagues MLS Cup or bust.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially now with the playoff situation, I think a lot of people will forgive Miami if they don't manage to make the playoffs this year. The way they started the season, Phil Neville in charge, and then you go through a regime change with Tata coming in, obviously the trio coming in, and all these new players coming in. So if they don't make the playoffs, I'm sure people will be a little bit more forgiving. But next season, 2024, I'll also I'll remind everyone that the sanctions will also be gone. So they'll have extra allocation money to continue to improve their roster. And they'll have a full year, a calendar year of Messi, Busquets, and Alba in 2024. So I think that's when they will be pushing for MLS Cup. Maybe US Open Cup if they don't get past Cincinnati away, which will be a very difficult match. And hopefully they'll be in what's it called, the Champions Cup now? If they finish I don't know, the Champions League, I don't know, but the Concacaf Champions Cup, if they finish, I think it's third place or higher. I think in the Leagues Cup they'll get a spot in the Champions Cup. So I think that's the goal. This year, maybe not, but next year, obviously, I think, finishing top of the East, MLS Cup, all that jazz, I think that'll be the goal for them in 2024 and 2025.
It's quite literally from the bottom to the top in terms of expectations. I mean, well, we had talked earlier this season, but again, like I said, and we had both agreed top four, top five team. Of course, injuries played a big part of that, so it's not just only because of the players that were on the field, but you guys had high expectations entering this season to at least be a top four team. So it's unfortunate that kind of went downhill from there, but. I know for the union, we know we have Ty Baribo still in the works here with the paperwork still being done. For those who haven't heard yet, he's essentially has to go back to Europe to finish more paperwork to get settled down. Now, if you're union fans, you know that paperwork and visa issues and immigration is always a problem. I don't know why. We always have the worst luck with any sort of immigration stuff. But Alex, I'm just curious from your perspective, have you guys had any issues at all with visas, immigration, paperwork, that kind of stuff, or it's just been here, they're here and they're playing?
Honestly, I don't know if it's like a Miami thing, but they've always had good, I don't know, luck or good lawyers with the green card and visa situations down here. Even with, I believe when Julian Carranza was down here, he got his green card pretty quickly. Correct me if I'm wrong, and Matthias Pellegrini as well when they first came in. They were set pretty quickly. So I'll mention Facundo Farias and Thomas Aviles and Diego Gomez. They were able to be pretty integrated into the team very quickly. Even Farias is traveling with or traveled with Miami to Philadelphia to play tomorrow. So his paperwork came through really quickly. So I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the different state legislator or I don't know, but. Miami they've always been able to bring stuff like that in pretty quickly.
Yeah, it seems like it's a union thing because I swear, honestly, I know people have hinted at the countries that the players are coming from has some sort of impact on it. So, for example, I don't know if you've heard, but Olivier Mambizo is essentially requesting to be removed because his family can't get visas to come into the country to play. It's one of those things where why is it such an issue that it's
Yeah.
taken now a full season? I mean, Jim had mentioned that it hasn't been this wasn't like a brand new thing. They've known about this for quite some time, and it's just kind of been under the rug, obviously. So I wonder why it is us out of all people. We think Ua had a delay. I think Corey Burke, Dave, had an issue
I
for a
think
green
him
card.
getting the green card, we had the yearly Sergio
Yeah,
Santos issue
the
for about
Son.
3 years. Sergio didn't play like the start of the year or like a part of
Yeah,
the year for like 3 successive years because of green card or visa issues. And who was the other player? Jamiro Montero had issues surrounding,
that's right.
I think,
Yeah,
family issues as well, which obviously perhaps led to him, uh, you know, moving. What's it called? No, I
moving
think
to
it's
San
family.
Jose.
I
Yeah.
think perhaps that is those. Yeah,
hmm Yeah, and Valor jokes Florida likes immigrants more than Pennsylvania does. I guess so, Val, because it's just it doesn't seem like it's reasonable at this point for us to be having so many issues here. But again, we will hope to have Ty Brebo back by MLS play because Julian has been getting a lot of recognition overseas. We were well, according to Curtin, has been getting a lot of looks from overseas, but I know you and I have been going back and forth about Julian's presence and stuff like that over the past season and a half. He has not, however, played, or he should not be playing tomorrow. So, what have you thought about Julian's season so far? I know you're watching from afar, but what have you thought about Carranza? I know he maybe is exceeding expectations across the board, but I'm sure you're disappointed not to be able to see him tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I thought it would be a really cool narrative to see. One of the initial players that signed for Inter Miami playing against an fellow Argentine, and the best player of the world in the world. Right now, Lionel Messi. It would have been cool to see Julian be able to play against his ex club and probably his idol too. So
Yep.
yeah, it really sucks that I hope he recovers well and I don't know if that was okay. I'll tell this one story. I don't know if it was him, but when I was at the Messi unveil a couple of weeks ago, I could have sworn I saw him walking around. I don't know if that was him. I don't know if you guys knew if he like went to Miami for it, but I'm pretty sure it was him because he has a pretty recognizable face. But
Yeah.
I don't know if it was him, but maybe I'm going crazy or I'm sleep deprived or whatever. I'm pretty sure it was him. But yeah, it would have been cool to see Carranza play, but I truly hope he just recovers really well. And if he does play some part tomorrow, maybe 10 minutes at the end, if
Yeah.
the Union need a goal, if they're up or if they're up by like 5 because Miami's back line is so slow. I don't know, but let's see. So yeah, hopefully he's been playing out of his mind and.
Yeah.
In some like alternate universe, maybe he could have stayed at Miami and played next to Messi. I don't know, but yeah, I just hope he recovers well.
Yeah, I know he loves Philly, but you part of him probably thinks, "Damn, I was there. I could have been part of
Yeah.
this madness going on." So you seem to be pessimistic on Miami's chances tomorrow. I think us here are a little bit the opposite. Maybe we're just I guess negative as Philadelphia fans. So before we wrap up the show, again, thanks for having us. Let's give us some score predictions, and then we'll do your plugs to kind of close it out. So Alex, I'll go to you first. What are your score predictions for tomorrow? And is Messi scoring a brace tomorrow? What is he doing?
Yeah, I think Messi will score. I think it'll be another like FC Dallas game for Miami. I think it's going to be like I don't know. I think it'll be another tight game. I think it'll go down to the wire. I think both teams will score multiple goals. I'll say like 4-4 in regulation, and then it'll probably go to penalties. I feel.
Oh gosh, don't
Yeah,
say that.
yeah. I think it'll be a high scoring game. I really do.
Oh no.
Why even speak that
Yeah,
into existence?
I just have a feeling.
I know, me too. No, we don't typically do well in PKs at all. We beat
Mm.
DC, we beat the Rebels. We were about we were Chris Donovan away from going to penalties with Querétaro as well. So the penalty kicks are just terrifying, especially because as much as I love Andre Blake, just seeing the lineup you guys can put out there for penalty kicks, I'm like, oh crap! Like now we got Busquets,
Mm.
now we got Messi, now Jose Martinez is coming in, who's taking the PKs on a regular basis now. But Dave, what are your thoughts? What are your realist? Don't be
No,
biased to the Union, man. Give me the real stuff here.
no, I was going to say, since that fight, since the end of the group stages, the Union have struggled not just to score goals, but create chances. I said on
Mhm.
Todd's podcast yesterday, the biggest issue is the Union getting players in the box. They've struggled to get players in the right areas or inside the penalty box. So the strikers, crashing the penalty area. And I think the biggest issue is the lack of width the team has when you place such an importance on your fullbacks being your prime outlet of width.
Yeah.
Um, it forces your two strikers to have to go out wide to get the ball and create stuff, and then creates an isolation issue in the middle because you've got one striker against two defenders, three defenders, and they just when you do put the ball in the box, there's never enough players in there to get that contact. And I noticed it against the Red Bulls. It happened quite often against Quakertown on Friday night, and the Union have struggled to create chances and score goals. That's my biggest concern, especially if with the way we've seen Miami just score for fun throughout the entirety of the Links Cup. Especially with Messi. I'll go 2-1 to the Union. I think my only concern is that Jim perhaps deploys the same game plan he
Yeah.
used on Friday, which is get the goal, try get the game out of sight after 20 minutes, and just sit off and back off and just try and limit them. Of course, it could end up being a ridiculously stupid idea against a team that giving Messi so much of the possession and Busquets so much possession to try and orchestrate play. But I think 2-1. I'm hoping the Union could be brave. Maybe go with a 4-2-3-1. Get more players up, have some more width. Get crafty players in the ball like Sullivan and even Torres. I know, of course, he hasn't lit the world on fire, but I think what he did in a game where the Union stuck in the mud, dead to the rights against Querétaro, he brought some life into the game, and hoping that he can, replicate that. Perhaps starting tomorrow night. So I'm hoping 2-1. Goal scorer wise, I'm going to go Gazdag and Jot. Jose Martinez, why not?
Oh, I love
He's going to get a very, very early yellow card. He's going to get a ridiculous yellow card for a tough challenge. And I hope that's the one thing I'm looking forward to. I want the Union to set the tone early. I want Jose Martinez to clatter someone early. If it's Messi, or just clatter someone early and just set the tempo, set the tone, and let them know who's there. And then put the referee under pressure. And that will then probably decide the tone of the game. If the referee gets an early yellow card now, even if it isn't the toughest of fouls, then you know what sort of game you're getting into. And if it is,
yeah.
a quick clip of the heels of Messi and he gets booked for it, then you sort of know that, he's going to be untouchable, and then you sort of know how to deal with it accordingly. But the Union need to score goals, and they need to quickly get over their attacking issues or offensive issues.
And that's the thing. If I'm going to give you some optimism tomorrow, Alex, or for any of the Miami fans listen, the Union have not played well recently. They really haven't. They struggled against DC United. Now, granted, they struggled against DC United earlier this season, too. They had a 0-0 draw at home. So it's not like this is new. They didn't do well against DC. The Red Bulls match, they came out with this really, really weird formation. Jim definitely overthought the lineup like he did against Atlanta, kind of like he did against LA Galaxy as well. And the Red Bulls scored one almost right away. And then they almost scored a second one almost minutes later. So it could have been 2-0 Red Bull. And even if you think of Querétaro, to Dave's point, yeah, the goal that Bueno scored was not something spectacular. Jack McGlynn had a cross. It got bounced around. Actually, I think he took a shot and it got deflected into Bueno's foot, and Bueno just scored the goal. So you've had 3 straight games where they've struggled to score, and they really have not been impressive by any stretch of the imagination. And we also know that Bedoya is back. So do you worry that maybe he brings Bedoya in earlier than you expect, or brings him in at all? Because Ali's coming off now, 8 weeks without playing, whatever it's been. It's been a long stretch. So again, there's some concerns from the Union fans that Curtin overthinks it. And so 4-4. I would love for the Union to score 4 goals, Alex. I just don't think they have it in them right now. I really don't. I don't think they have it in them. But I'm praying that you're right because I would like to see just at least a good match. So I'm gonna go. I still think they win. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go 2-1 as well. I do think Messi scores, and I hope that's all he does is score 1 goal, maybe in like the 80th minute, and gives him a chance, and then that's it. Because honestly, like Dave said, Curtin just said, "All right, we're gonna bring in Leon Flock on," and I think Donovan with a 1-0 lead against Querétaro, and we're just gonna enjoy the win. And it's like, no, that can't happen against Leo Messi. They're gonna destroy us if that's the case. So, again, I think I'll go 2-1 as well. But again, Alex, thank you for joining me for a second time this season. It's been a pleasure as always. I know we've been in touch over Twitter or X now, whatever you want to call it. Keep on with our coverage. So please, if you could take the stand right now, kind of plug your stuff away. Let us know where people can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at AAW_1998. I have to simplify my handle. It's getting a little too much. Maybe I'll change it later. But yes, you can find me on Twitter or X at AAW_1998. I write for Bleacher Report, doing other MLS stuff and U.S. national team stuff too, and European football. But my main bread and butter right now is writing for the Heron outlet and giving y'all Inter Miami coverage. So you can find all my stuff there on Twitter or X.
Yeah, at X now. Absolutely. Okay, awesome. Well, like I said, tomorrow night, the Union hosts Leo Messi and company as they face off in the semifinal match for the Leagues Cup. The winner will, advance to the final against Nashville or Monterrey. The Monterrey LAFC match alone was just insanity if you guys missed that as well. So hopefully a big night for the Union. And again, Messi's in town. So again, Alex, thank you for joining us. Dave, we'll talk tomorrow. Otherwise, happy Monday night, guys. Go Union.
Go Union.